G'day, it's your old mate Matthew here. Welcome to the Yarnsman podcast. In this episode, we have a good yarn with Todd Astle, a former Black Cap, co-founder of BetterMan, and someone who's also doing some great work here in Christchurch, helping men to have better lives. From his journey in pro sport to coaching and now men's wellbeing, Todd brings a heaps of insight into what it means to show up both for yourself and others. Now, one question I get often is, how is the Yarnsman different to BetterMan? And it's a fair one. We're both men's charity based here in Christchurch and really focused on trying to help guys. But the thing is, we've got different flavours. At the Yarnsman, we focus on sparking good yarns and fostering connection. Those honest, everyday yarns between people that build connection and strengthen us from the inside out. Betterman brings a more structured approach through positive psychology, growth tools, and what Todd calls BYC, Betterment, Yarns and Competition. I love that because the more ways we have to reach men, the better. What speaks to one guy might not speak to another, and that's the beauty of having different paths that lead to the same outcome. Good yarns, better days. This episode is a great example of, when we can stand side by side, not in competition, but in collaboration. There's totally a way for us to work together, whether it be a drafting gate or being able to refer guys to something that may be more appropriate to them. Now, apologies, you'll hear our cat Sausage crash the episode partway through, just doing his best to get in on the yarn. Hope you enjoy the yarn. Hello and welcome to the Yarnsman podcast. Today we have Todd Astle with us in the high-tech podcast studio. How are you, Todd?
I'm good, Matt. Thanks for having me. And it was nice to actually catch up with you last week at the Crusaders rugby game where we were both, a part of that mental health round. And yeah, nice to know that I was coming in today and have more of a yarn with you as well.
Yeah, it is pretty cool that we can, be out in public together and collaborate and cool things like that. Todd is a father, husband. He's liked a bit of leather on Willow and the co-founder of the BetterMan. We'll launch into the questions. What have you struggled with in last week?
Nothing, mate. I'm a man. I don't talk about my insecurities. I don't have weaknesses. Wouldn't be much of a podcast, would it, if that was the response? But yeah, I think for me, a lot of my self-esteem, I suppose, I've sort of reflected on this the last couple of years, having finished sport, is around being a good dad. And so, my kids are now almost 9 and almost 7. And I have a lot more time around them. I love that because with cricket for 18 years, you come in and going and there's just sort of that disruption to routines. And now I'm able to be that regular and drop-offs and take my son's cricket trainings and drop my daughter to dancing. And I really value that. And so for me, I guess it's just a little bit of that struggle with the irrational meltdowns and the highs and lows of the kids. And it's funny because, I often talk about emotions don't last and it's, naming them to tame them. And I'm regularly working through that with my kids, but it's also acknowledging it for myself and how they can trigger myself and my wife and how do you manage all of that. So that's probably something that I'm constantly aware of and it's an ongoing struggle. I think it's probably something that for all parents, it never stops. But for me, that's where I'm always, I guess, with that athlete mindset, trying to be the best, dad that I can be. And I even write at night in a wee sort of journal now, every day to kind of review how the day's gone, what could have done better. And it's just a nice bit of accountability to sort of see how I'm tracking.
Yeah, that's cool. Do you get the whole family out on a whiteboard to set out the plays for the following day as well?
We have a few little routines, which I think helps with the young ones. So at night we kind of go through a bit of gratitude in terms of what's something that brought a smile to your face or that went well. Or we call it a high low and a gruffalo or a buffalo.
Oh, cool. So
you have your wins, your tough times in the day, and then your gruffalo or buffalo is just something random that happened. And kids are great for that, right? Because they just have all these weird and wonderful stories. And I think that's just a nice wee framework that is a good way of signing off the day and can kind of shift them maybe out of a little bit of that negative mindset. If they've got spaghetti bolognese that doesn't have the meatballs, or this isn't the one that you made last week, and so it is. It's just a nice little wee check-in each evening.
Oh, I love that. What do you want to work on in the next week?
Over the next week, for me, I think the last sort of probably couple of weeks, we've had a lot on with BetterMan and lots of coverage with different workshops and at the rugby there, and we've got a date night, Better Half, coming up next month. And so with that often comes a lot of time on devices. And so I'm regularly more on it than I would like to be, and you're a bit distracted and, your attention's fragmented. And I notice that when I'm not present enough, probably with the kids, but also, at times with others, and you kind of have that bit of a scrambled brain. And so I guess the good thing is being aware of that and acknowledging it, and then going, okay, how do I make my time really productive, and then have that phone sort of put away at those key times.
There's a thing around when you're organising events, whatever, there's the, needing to be on, but there's the dopamine hit when someone buys a ticket or does a thing. And that's that's such a struggle, because I experience that all the time, and I don't want to experience that, right?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. LinkedIn, now that's sort of a place that we play more, and, publish what we're doing, and there's so many amazing comments and things, and you want to obviously, get back to people. But again, like you say, it's that dopamine, you kind of always sort of checking in and wanting to kind of always, acknowledge people and appreciate what they've been sort of, saying. And it is that dangerous sort of, knowing that stolen focus, Johan Hari and all of those algorithms and the invasive technology. It's actually going, how do you be aware and take back a little bit of that control in those times when you are probably, getting a bit distracted.
Now, we're redesigning our Yarns cards, so you're going to get the new questions, because I think you can answer them. What are you grateful for?
I'm grateful for the opportunity to be in the space and collaborate with others that are willing to, I guess, be more open and curious around sort of that well-being space and mental health, and the positive flow-on effect, I guess, that it's having personally, but also with, my brother now with BetterMan and seeing his growth, family members, my wife, kids, the community. I'm in Hallswell, just all of the parents. There's that sort of just real amazing ripple effect. And I guess I'm grateful to kind of be able to play in this space now, having finished cricket officially a couple of years ago. I mean, I still dabble in the odd game here and there. And the cool thing with BetterMan is it's our next team, and I love doing it with my brother and with Jed Robinson, and we just are so like-minded. But then the more you can bring in other people, the more it just makes you feel good, right? It's bringing joy to us, but others as well, and that's what I'm really grateful for.
Yeah, well, I mean, I echo that. It's the yarns and the connections we get to make. That's it's amazing, right?
It is, and I think I was listening to Matt Heath's podcast you did. Was it last week that you released it? And you talked about the sort of positive echo chambers, or how the algorithm picks up what you're looking at or researching or talking about. And for me, I think that's what I'm loving. And your old question, I kind of had an answer in my head, right? What gives you hope? It was actually the fact that the more you're in that space, the more those good things are drawn to you, and they become on your radar, and you kind of have that positive flow-on effect. And so that's the cool thing, is just seeing those ripples, and how the little things can be the big things for just even one person. That's really cool.
I feel like I know what I'm going to. You're going to almost answer this the same, but I don't want to put words in your mouth. What gives you meaning?
I think each day waking up knowing that I have that purpose with BetterMan, and for so long it was to be a professional athlete, right, and to do the best that I could, and that's the athlete mindset, is that you get up wanting to get better, and I now have that, and that gives me purpose with the charity, but also with my work with Inner Spin, which is my mental skills business. And I kind of pinch myself and remind myself that I'm doing the things that bring me joy and that I want to do, and that gives me that purpose and meaning. And then when you can bring other people on that journey, it supercharges it. And now we're wanting to go all in and make it our life's work, and we can kind of see that happening more and more. And we're kind of refining what we're offering. We're bringing on other people into that sort of journey, and so that's what sort of fuels me and excites me as well moving forward.
Well, I mean, just passionate people. It fills me. I'm excited too, right? Well, let's dive into your journey, mate. Where would you like to start from? The cricketing highs to BetterMan and his spin.
Yeah, it's a great question, right? Where do you start? I mean, I can go back, and often at our events we kind of tell our life story in 60 seconds. It's a really good way.
I love that one.
Of connecting with people, but you go really deep, very fast. And so I often go back to the point where I was the youngest of 3 kids, and I think that was really great for me, because I had older brother and sister that gave me a bit of stick but kind of kept me in line, and yeah, I think they paved the way a little bit, and both parents were teachers, and so I think there's a lot of that positive influence. And when I go out and deliver and facilitate, there's definitely that sort of teacher hat that I've got on there. And cricket was just in the DNA. Like I was always playing in the backyard or down at the nets, and then that just flowed on through. I think moving from Palmerston North when I was 12 to Christchurch, that was probably, for me, I look back at that, the opportunities that Canterbury and Christchurch has given me. And I went to Christchurch Boys, and so, cricketing sort of school.
Mm-hmm. And
for a person that is just sport mad and cricket mad, that just allowed me to have those outlets and opportunities. And yeah, started at under 14 level with sort of Canterbury age group, and then all the way to men's team, and fortunate to be a professional cricketer. My goal, my real dream was to be that, and for 18 years I was able to do that, and then to kind of go out on my own terms was really special.
And correct me if I'm wrong here, are you one of the leading wicket takers for Canterbury, is that right?
I am, which I'm really proud of, because I started out as an opening batsman. I was a top order batsman all through junior cricket, bowled a few part-time leggies, and then sort of in my mid-20s I had this remarkable transformation into more of a leg spin bowler. And I think it suited my personality more. I just loved that sort of, competitive nature, getting the ball in my hand, how can I get you out? Whereas batting, I think I just had that fear of failure, and I was always sort of the talented one, and maybe it was a bit of a fixed mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I'm now Canterbury's highest wicket taker of all time, going past Sir Richard Hadley and Mark Priest and some of these, amazing figures in Canterbury cricket. And so I now, reflect back on that journey, and at the time I was devastated that it didn't pan out probably how I thought it would with the batting. But now I've played all three formats for Canterbury, for New Zealand, been to World Cup with the T20, and also part of that World Test Championship winning squad, and have my gold medal that the kids love, sort of, looking at all the medals that Dad sort of acquired over the years. And yeah, all from sort of the fact that I had to go through some difficult hardships as well throughout the career. It was never smooth sailing, and that's why I think now a lot of the messages I say are around that perseverance and resilience, because that's sort of what I can reflect on and say it's helped me over all those years.
Being a part of the golden age of New Zealand cricket, there must be a real mental challenge to be in the team, chopping and changing and things, right? And so that's has that helped form a lot of the work you do now?
Yeah, I think so. And like you say, 2012, when I first debuted for New Zealand, we had very mixed success. And so there was this shift around that time around, how do we want to be perceived by the nation? And we wanted to really wear that fern with pride, and it was just going above and beyond, and we had the mantra of team first.
Mm-hmm.
And so if it's good for the team, right, you think it, you say it, and you do it. And then we just started to role model that day in, day out, and guys started to really put performances on the board, and then that success over the next 10 years was phenomenal, to the point where we were ranked, first in Test cricket and one-day cricket, and third in T20, 10 years on. And you think now of just the way that the public have got behind the Black Caps and what we've achieved, it's pretty special. So, yeah, for me, I think just witnessing that, and the real importance of culture and investing in people, that's where the BetterMan, I guess, project or passion project it was at that time. It was taking the best parts of team sport, of being in a team and having the fun and the interaction, but also going a bit deeper and actually going, what makes people tick, and what can we do to kind of bring people together and have fun, but also have some of those tougher conversations and support people.
Well, we're going to get a meow on the mic now.
Who's this?
This is Sausage.
Sausage. I've got a cat, Frank the Tank.
Oh, right. Oh,
yeah,
good.
Yeah.
Just steer you out.
Yeah. Hey, Sausage.
Tell me about Inner Spin.
Well, so for the last 8 years, I've had my own mental skills business called Inner Spin, and it came about, I guess, throughout my career. Like I've mentioned, I've had ups and downs, and it's never been smooth sailing, but that's what's helped make me the person, and the sort of mentor that I am today. And I was very fortunate through those hardships to have good people around me, the sports psychologists, the mental skills coaches, those sort of senior people in the team. And so that's where I think 2016 was when I did a life coaching course, and I'd done some leadership courses in mindfulness, and the penny dropped that that's what I want to kind of do is help people in that mental skill space to help them, I guess, have that optimal mindset and self-awareness and what that looks like.
So what does a course or program look like within a spin?
So it started out just going into a few schools and delivering around things like your goal setting, your mindfulness or mindset, self-talk, visualization. And, you learn over the years and you find ways to deliver and interact with different groups of people. And it was one-on-ones, but then it was group sessions with sports teams. Then I do keynotes and I deliver to sort of corporates and over the years it's grown and now I do a number of group sessions or one-on-ones and I've also even got my own online course that I've developed and a lot of that downtime that I was away on cricket tours, I was able to use that and sort of be filming and creating resources and that's the really special thing is now I have lots of offerings either in person or online. And the really cool thing I guess for me is just seeing that you often ask that question, what would you give to your 18-year-old self or younger self? And it would be a lot around the mental skills or the mindset. Mm-hmm. And the higher you go, there's more scrutiny, pressure and judgment. And often, you got to figure it out or you kind of have to F off mentality. Mm. And so that's where I can be that sort of guide on the side and help support people around, your mental skills and around, your mindset and those things that are going to help you to be the best version of yourself.
And so what have you taken from that into the BetterMan?
Yeah, a heck of a lot. That's the great thing, right? Being able to present to people and to deliver to a number of different groups. And how do you take those transferable learnings? And so I find that really valuable. And a lot of the sort of mental skills aspects could be called mental fitness, or you can kind of go into that positive psychology world, which now Ryan, Jed and I have diplomas in positive psychology, and so that gives us that extra framework. So when we go in and deliver, it's being able to use that, but also the mental skills concepts can tie in with that as well.
What's the definition of positive psychology?
The study of what works. And
like that?
Yeah, you look back, there's a cool book, it's called The Happiness Advantage, Sean Aker, and he sort of has done research and then showing he delivers this sort of happiness or positive psychology paper at Harvard, and that was the most sought after paper because you kind of think that's the 1% of all the 1%, right? And they're not all going to succeed. So you've got to have education tools and strategies to thrive. Mm-hmm. And yeah, in 2000, I think it was like a 17-to-1 ratio of psychology around negative, studies around how to get back to baseline, versus that sort of one around positive psychology and the outliers and what people are doing to thrive. And so that's what we want to take, the best parts of team sport, the positive psychology, the well-being, and deliver that with fun and engagement. And that's what BetterMan's all about, right? Our overarching principle is BYC. You'd love your backyard cricket, but it stands for betterment, yarns, and competition. So betterment in terms of that growth and always learning. Yarns, you'd know better than anyone, right? It's being open and having those conversations and that vulnerability piece to connect us. And then competition, that is taking, sport, essentially. It is something that we've grown up competing in sports teams. And so it's that fun and interaction that, for guys in particular, gets them in the room, and then you can layer in some of the other elements.
What do you think of the word contented? So when you're always striving to be better, betterment, competition, and the challenge of trying to be contented with all of that, coming back to that, I won't say happy, but contented.
Well, that's probably a tough one for me, is that you always have that mindset of wanting to be better. And I guess you're never going to reach a certain point, are you? Because the goalpost will always move. It's kind of that hedonic treadmill where, you're always thinking that you're going to get there, and it kind of goalposts keep moving and it's never quite enough. And I guess that was probably me from so many years as a cricket player. You're always seeking to kind of reach that certain level and push the envelope. And so, again, I'm not quite sure what that will look like. I'm proud of what we've achieved, and it's incredible to think all of the the wins and the things that we've created and the people that we've got behind us. But there's always work to do.
I really like how you are using it to get guys in the room. So it's how do we get to trust and vulnerability quick, right? To be able to do those things. And if it's competition, then that's something that we all know, and it's a good way of going about it.
Yeah, and it won't suit everybody, but I guess that's our secret sauce. That's what we know and we love. And I guess it's just then, like we've talked about even before we were recording, it's that patchwork quilt where we will all play different roles and will resonate with different groups of people. So we don't have to be everything to everyone. And maybe that's that word contented is actually servicing the communities that will resonate with what we are about, right? Bringing those people along for the ride that really get behind it, that see that value. And not all of our events will be, about having macho, arm wrestle, competition. It might just be that fun, interacting way of, challenging some of the ways that you can talk about that connection. Or, at our date nights, it was, the wedding game. When you raise your shoe around who's the best cook and what's the best sort of date on, or who does romantic dates better than the other person. And then at a quiz night, it's easy, right? There's competition there. We'll have those elements throughout, but it's being able to still not lose sight of the reason you're getting the people along is that connection, first and foremost, because relationships are the single most important factor for lifelong happiness and thriving. And we want to have intentional ways to bring people together, to have fun, to have interaction, and then you're opening the door for more of that, more of that connection, more of bringing people along to support them.
I couldn't agree more. Right. Tell us about, you were talking before about the grateful letters from one of your previous events.
Yeah, gratitude letters are incredible. They're oxytocin, the feel-good hormone that gets released after you kind of have that attitude of gratitude. And again, that's on the positive psychology diploma. We had to do that exercise. And that's where for our Better Half date night, our first one that we ran, it was October 2023. It was at the Earl Restaurant, and there was 40 couples and a husband and wife duo that was singing when you came in, and there was a rose on each of the tables, and there was a little product for the better halves to have, lipstick or mascara. And there was relationship prompt card questions, so you would understand that well, and it was nice to kind of delve a bit deeper. And then at one point, I obviously said, look, we wanted the guys to do a bit of homework, and this is where it might get a little bit uncomfortable, but this is where the magic happens. So we got the guys to write gratitude letters to their partners, because that is that amazing attitude of gratitude where you're showing that appreciation for your better half. And often we don't do that. We kind of stay at that surface level, and it goes deeper in it, and it really does enhance those relationships, that how much these people mean to us and what we've gone through, and those special moments and milestones. And that was the cool thing, seeing the emotion in the room, and just, there was a lot of tears, good happy tears, but partners going, geez, I didn't know you felt that way about me. And that was the really cool thing, just seeing how much that helped, people to be able to kind of, to go there, right? To give them that way of being able to do so.
Creating that vulnerability, but also, enhancing and solidifying that connection. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and each of our events are designed to enhance the key relationships a man has in his life. And so it might be first and foremost with yourself, a lot of the workshops and education around how do you be the best version of yourself. Or it might be, with your partners, your better halves. It could be with your mates, and it could be with your kids. So a daddy-daughter day, or a father and son sort of dads and lads connection event. So there's all these different things we're thinking of, and ways that we can help men with those key relationships.
One of the constant things I get asked about is, what about high school? What about high school guys? The risks and everything around that. And obviously you guys have started addressing it. Tell us about the high school workshops.
Yeah, and so the cool thing is we've taken a lot of the positive psychology principles and the fun, engaging interaction and events, and we now have designed a workshop called the Ref Toolkit, and it's about striving to be better. And it's aimed at those senior high school students, where we go in and we've got a wee playbook that they can go through, and there's some prompts in there. And there was a survey to kind of get feedback at the end of it, and we've gone in and we've piloted it at 5 schools here in Christchurch over the last fortnight. And we've teed up alongside of, or collaborated with Crusade with Heart, the Crusaders charity, and they were able to get funding through RATA. So yeah, a huge thank you to those organisations. And it's been really cool going into the schools and delivering to, year 12 and 13 males and females about how can they be the best version of themselves, and talking about relationships, emotions, and flexible mindset. That's what the REF stands for. Be your own best REF. So that importance of connections and having others in our life, understanding emotions and the positive and negative and how you can shift those. And then that flexible mindset around it, a lot of it down to our way that we view things, and how can we have that growth mindset towards being, I guess, better. So it's great. They get the playbooks. There's resources online that they can kind of go to. But we also have had the Crusaders come and deliver with us. And there would be often 2 or 3 of them. And they can be those role models and share. And it's always great to have, I guess, people that, can role model it to the kids, that normalises their own struggles. So we had Scott Barrett, All Black captain, and we had David Havili at Shirley Boys last week, but also Taylor Cahill, who was an old boy. And the beauty of it is we're kind of giving the frameworks. We have these fun games as well. They have the playbooks, but then you have the examples from the Crusaders too. And that just gives it that amazing real wraparound support.
The role models, role modelling vulnerability and opening up. That's like, if he's like that, I can be like that too, right?
Yeah, especially in Canterbury too, where the Crusaders are just so well respected and have such a great name, and that's where we're loving being a part of that as well, and then again to be a part of that mental health round with the Crusaders versus the Highlanders last week was another great initiative.
What is your favourite Crusaders memory?
I remember going to Lancaster Park, or Jade Stadium, and just that excitement when you're a kind of a teenage kid and there's just something bigger than yourself, right? You're going along with these other people, and there's nothing like that emotional contagion when you are all at that same event and all supporting your team. That's what I just love, and I remember that, and everyone wearing that red and black, and my mum's always loved the horses, and so when they come around they still do. So even when I saw them the other day, it kind of it's that nostalgia you bring back to those memories. And then that was my son's first Crusader game, and he's been to some netball and cricket, but yeah, it was great that we could be standing out on the pitch for that guard of honour, and then seeing all of these big strong men, but also the fact that a lot of them over the last couple of weeks have actually talked about some of their insecurities or the nerves and doubts, but also the people that have supported them. That's that really nice wraparound support that we're trying to promote, I suppose, with BetterMan.
Yeah, I mean, it was really good sitting pitch side in the wheelchair area and seeing Sibby Reese's legs close up. The legs like a racehorse. But anyway, sorry, that's a bit random. Look, it's fantastic stuff. I think, and we're so open to collaborating and things. So Christchurch is a small place and beyond. What's your view on how different, where the BetterMan differentiates or differs from the Yarnsman?
Yeah, well, I think our approach is that positive approach to mental health, and I guess that's a play on the positive psychology angle of things and the study of what works. And so for us, again, we always talk about being the fence at the top of the cliff, and you need to have the evidence at the bottom, undoubtedly. But I guess that's where we want to kind of play and use our skill sets. And so a lot of the time it's the events, it's the education and workshops that kind of come from that angle. Mm-hmm. And I think where we are slightly different is that we can probably appeal to just different groups of people. Like we can use our profiles with sports. So Jed and I have those links, which is amazing. And we can have the sort of fun and engaging events. But also, we want to probably go down that sort of more deep and meaningful and having regular sort of men's group connection. And that's what you've set up. And I really like the fact that gives people that space and that ability to do so. And so I think it's just being able to not almost say that we're in separate silos. It's going, okay, we have these overlaps, and it's almost like that Venn diagram. Mm-hmm. And so that's where I think we can take parts of what we do, and you've got parts of what you do that will always be unique to us, but there's that sweet spot in the middle that can be where together we're able to do those things, but also you think of the other, groups in Christchurch and Lads Without Labels that were there on Friday night as well. There's so many that we can kind of work together to kind of have that positive impact that we all want to see.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, right? We can't solve these problems in a silo, and we can't solve it alone. And the best way to do it is to smash down those silos and get to the middle of that Venn diagram, right? So I think that's it's a good way for us. It's a good challenge to ourselves, and certainly when I'm back functioning a bit bit closer to 100%, I'd love to continue that yarn. Look, Todd, fantastic yarn. Love what you guys are doing. I love that we can play in the same sandpit and support each other. And I look forward to seeing how you guys grow and develop and where it all goes.
Yeah, thank you. And echoing that, I think that's the beauty of this now, is that when we are now aware of these things and what's going on, we can always reach out to one another, and if things do align more with your charity and organisation, and then you can steer others towards us, and it's that back and forward, and just that, I guess, willingness to keep supporting each other, to support others. That's what we're about, right? And so it has to kind of come from that angle. And thank you for the opportunity to come and share my yarn, to meet Sausage, your cat. And good luck with your recovery as well, and all that you're doing. I really value that as well, and seeing your growth as well has been really special.
Yeah, cool. Thank you very much.